Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia. Listen up. WynnBET is now live in all these states, and the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas has finally landed in online sports betting and casino play. From boosted parlays to live in-game offs on every major sport, WynnBET gives you the tools to win. Sign up today for your risk-free $1,000 sports bet. Download the WynnBET app now or visit wynnbet.com to start winning.
You're listening to the Huddle Up Podcast with Chad Jensen and Zack Kelberman. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com and sound off. And now it's time to drop some knowledge.
Welcome in, everybody, to the Huddle Up Podcast, presented, as always, by Mile High Huddle, powered by Blue Wire Podcasts. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me is my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, the Combine has done its thing today. We've gotten to see a few quarterbacks throw. We've gotten to see some receivers run. We've started to get kind of news on some of the measurements. Kenny Pickett, he of the small hands, turns out small hands. Was it 8 1/4 or is it 8 1/2?
8 1/2, yeah.
8 1/2. So this cat, if he were to be drafted, Zack, in the first round, maybe by the Broncos, but if he were to be, he'd be the first and only quarterback since Michael Vick to get drafted in the first round with hand size of 8 1/2 inches. Your thoughts?
Beyond his hands, I look at his whole body of work. I look at his entire skill set, and I don't see a dynamic franchise 10-year championship quarterback. I think it was Todd McShay who called him a poor man's Mac Jones. I don't want a poor man's Mac Jones personally. I think the Broncos had that last year for the most part in Teddy Bridgewater. I want a dual. I keep saying it every podcast, and I will. I just want an exciting playmaker under center, whether it's a dual threat guy or whether it's a guy with a howitzer for an arm that can find his guys and launch balls downfield and score touchdowns. I don't see that in Pickett's NFL future. So I'm not putting a lot of onus on his hand size. It is pretty small, but even Joe Burrow had a tweet, and I mentioned that yesterday, that hand size isn't all it's cracked up to be. He's done pretty well so far with his tiny hands. So I think Pickett with the right team would flourish in the NFL, but I don't think that right team is the Broncos. And I'm going to put it out there on Jump Street in the first 2 minutes of the podcast. Malik Willis is quarterback one, and I don't think it's close, in my opinion. His natural upside, his dual threat ability, his athleticism, his legs, his arm, but I heard, according to a report, that he's interviewing really well, and teams are impressed by the way he's able to recite plays and learn playbooks. That's a big box to check for someone as raw as Malik Willis. And also, did you see the candid video of Malik Willis on the street today?
That I haven't seen.
Helping out a guy. He wasn't being filmed for any purpose. A guy just happened to be there. It was a guy on the street down on his luck, and Malik Willis stopped and helped him with his things. It's just high character, smarter quarterback whose upside is through the roof and the highest in this year's draft class. Apparently, I put a tweet out there and a lot of pushback. Broncos country doesn't want Malik Willis. Broncos country doesn't believe in Malik Willis, but that's my QB1, and I'm rocking with him.
Yeah, he's still my QB1 as well. We talk about hand size. They're doing all the measurements. We talk about, arm length. What about foot size? You know what they say about guys with big feet, Zack?
Careful.
Big shoes. Hey, get your mind out of the gutter. Sam Bam, what's good? Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. Good evening, he says. I love the pods and articles MHH continues to put out. That is all. Go Broncos. So sweet of you, Sam Bam. Love you. I know that's not your real name, but Sam Bam. Well, let me try and remember this. Broncos, Braves, Mavericks? See? Still Trap. I might have got the M wrong. Rod TV, it's good to see you as well, my friend. Thank you for jumping in early with a super chat. He says, it's looking like no top QB to this team. And if that's true, then no top free agents like Jones would want to play with the quarterbacks, like, for example, DJ Reader. If so, then go get Malik, he says that.
Show Chandler Jones enough of that, and he'll come play for the Broncos. And he's not going to be this like $20 million a year linebacker. You can probably get him on a 2-year deal for, I don't know, $23-24 million book. And that's not bad. That's not bad for a rental, a mercenary like Chandler Jones. But I'm not going to say that if they don't get Aaron, players aren't going to want to play here. I think most who are pretty smart realize this roster is right there. They are just a mid-level, even quarterback away from seriously competing. And I think a lot of players around the NFL, especially if they're incentivized enough, again, would want to play for Denver. I'm not worried about that.
We've got Dave Millage in the house. What is good, my friend? Thank you very much for that. Wow, very generous super chat from up there north of the 49th parallel. Dave, you prove every single day that Broncos country is not a geographic location. It's a state of being, baby. And we appreciate you supporting us, helping us keep the lights on. It goes a long way. Trust. He says, top of the evening, MHH, liked and ready for some, as always, super ideas and thoughts from this energetic chat. It should get interesting after the QB action at the Combine today. Chad and Zach and Scott, thanks again for the work you guys put in. Hey, it is our pleasure. We appreciate it, bro. On the subject of the edge rushers, Zach, Nick Kendall just sent in an article covering this for us. It hasn't published yet, but Mike Kliss reported today, quote, the buzz at the Combine is the Broncos will be looking to spend decent money, whatever that means, on a pass rusher when free agent negotiation period opens in 2 weeks, close quote. Who do you think, if they're looking to throw a few dollars around, and then we'll grab T twice here, who do you suppose might fit that bill? Chandler Jones? Who else?
Hassan Reddick, who I love. I'm a big fan of his game. He screams off the edge. He's good against the run. He's a good locker room guy. I would pay him as well, and I'd love to have Reddick. And also, I keep mentioning his name. There's a little more baggage, but Randy Gregory, who's just a missile if you use him the right way, and he can really help out this defense. But I was asked we both were, from Bryce, Mindset on Twitter, Chad, if the Broncos don't sign a high-profile edge, what about drafting Thibodeau? I'm not banking on Bradley Chubb either remaining healthy or remaining effective. So if they even sign Chandler Jones, I'm still considering Thibodeau. I'm probably doubling up either in the draft or free agency or a combination of both because they need help there. Bradley's on his 5th-year option. It's probably more than likely his last year. I'm not convinced that Jonathan Cooper is a 10-year long-term answer. And who's behind them? They have no one after Von Miller left. They need help there. It's arguably after quarterback their biggest need on the roster. But in this year's open market, there are some nice names. I'm going Chandler Jones, number 1, at least 10 sacks in every year since 2015, except for a throwaway 2020 season. And Reddick, again, who's a little younger, but I think brings – and if he can succeed with Vance, he'll kill it in Denver with Evero.
As Nick Kendall continues to harp on in his last few articles, he keeps bringing it up, and for dang good reason. That Bronco pass rush, man, it was the pits. ESPN's analytics that they use, Broncos were dead last. PFF's pass rush grade, second to dead last. So they need reinforcements, and you can't bank on, well, maybe this is the year Bradley Chubb isn't hurt or compromised in some way, shape, or form. T Twice is in the house with us, and this reminds me that we have winners of jersey drawings to announce tonight. Guys, as we say hello to all of our great Facebook supporters, including T Twice, who says, evening, fellas and Broncos. Just got to say it was awesome to see Malik Willis outside of the Colts Stadium helping a homeless person. I hope we draft him. He's a high character guy, no doubt. Malik Willis has been impressing a lot of people, and I'm talking NFL people in these interviews. The character, the football IQ, the charisma, and then you get to the talent, which is considerable. Question is, how far away is Malik Willis from putting it all together? And that's what NFL teams are trying to get a beat on right now. Lawrence as well saying, I'm done, sold on Malik Willis with his heart. This kid is going places, but really hand size, I'm hoping he has hands, not hand size. Okay, guys, we did the drawing. All right. It has been executed for the month of February on Facebook. Remember, the more you goes, the more chances you get. The most tickets in the hat. We hit the 250,000 goal in the month of February, and only those who contributed to the goal were in the running. Now, Michael Ronquillo, he basically owned the hat. So what we decided to do, because he was just so supportive in the month of February is we just said, you know what, Michael, you're getting to Jersey. Here you go. Steve Outwater. Thank you, bro. Removing him from the equation kind of leveled the playing field for everybody else. And the drawing for the month of February, a Broncos jersey of this person's choosing, goes to Jacob the Man Foster. So, Jacob, congrats to you, my friend. This is a Broncos jersey of your choice. Just word to the wise, it's of your choice. Much easier from a availability perspective getting jerseys that are current Broncos, just an FYI. Either current Bronco or Hall of Fame Bronco. If you're looking like rear view, still like Diamond Rattler, we owe Diamond Rattler a Demaryius Thomas jersey, Zach, but I search about every other day. I do a search trying to find one. There isn't one yet. So as soon as one pops back up, of course, we're getting one for the Diamond Rattler. So just keep that in mind. All right. Also, our Super Chat superstars, the top 5 finishers, D-Dub, DWI guys, that's Ethan, Michaela, Corey H, and then the winner. 5 people, 5 names went to a hat, Zach. The winner, y'all might remember this cat, Casey Nickel. Casey Nickel wins himself a Broncos jersey of his choosing. So Casey, reach out and let us know. Email, that goes for you as well. Jacob, milehighhuddle@gmail.com. Let us know the jersey and let us know the size. And of course, we'll need your shipping deets and we'll get that out to you. So congrats to both of you. Much love and respect. We appreciate each and every one of you. And a hat tip to the raffle winners.
Yeah, congrats to you guys, and very well deserved. And we don't want to just be words, we want to be action as well. We say this podcast is because of you guys and for you guys, and it's the least we can do to give back to you guys. You make it all possible. So small token of our appreciation, and we're very happy that you guys won. And thank you all for putting into the raffle as well.
Yeah, so T Twice is keeping an eye on the combine while we chat here tonight, and I do not blame you one whit, my friend, not one whit. Zach, so kind of interesting, quick segue. I know we're talking combine and all that stuff, but we mentioned last night, in fact, I think we titled the episode around Nathaniel Hackett finally breaks his silence on the subject of Drew Lock. Well, lo and behold, the floodgates have opened, if you will. What's up, Michael? Good to see you, big dog. Thank you, buddy. He gave an interview to KOA, Zach, and according to Brandon Cristal, this is what Nathaniel Hackett said on the subject of Drew. Quote, "I'm really excited to work with Drew. I really am. You look back at his past, he's had a lot of different systems. In my past, working with quarterbacks that have been through a lot of systems, it's difficult because what do they believe in? You go out there and you've had one guy say this and he had another guy say this or do this footwork or do that. In the end, we just want those guys to go out there and play. So I think it's a clean slate for everybody, and I'm excited to see Drew. He's a talented kid. I'm very excited to work with him." Close quote. Zach, your thoughts?
Honestly, I'm a big Drew guy, as everyone knows, no secret there. But until really it's on the field, it's all kind of saying the same thing at this point. It's all like, what else is he going to say? He's highlighting the obvious. He's being pretty objective while he's doing so. But it's just word. I want to see it on the field. Even the first OTA, the first minicamp practice. I want to see what Drew Lock looks like playing football under Nathaniel Hackett, not being talked about by Nathaniel Hackett. We have high hopes. I think Lock will do much better in Hackett's system and Outten and Clint Kubiak, but it's all kind of recycling the same verbiage and the same talking points about Drew. I'm ready for the action to take place.
Most definitely, but we still got a long wait to go until we start seeing the action. Here's what's new. Because he mentioned, Zach, of course, you know, the many systems thing. And if you think about it, you go, well, I get it. You know, he's been in the league 3 years, but he's only actually had 2 systems. What are we talking about here? Oh, I remember. Different system. I think he only had 1 continuity year to year at Mizzou. Was it his sophomore to junior year, I think? But three systems in 4 years at Mizzou, and then 2 systems in 3 years. So you take 7 years, this dude has had 5 different systems. Did I do the math right? Yes, 5 different systems. So that's what Nathaniel Hackett's talking about. But I'm encouraged by the fact that he said multiple times, he emphasized, did Hackett, that he's excited to work with Drew. So I still don't interpret any of this. I'm not jumping the shark here, Zach, to say, obviously they're sneaking this one in. It's going to be Drew the whole time. I'm not saying that. Drew is, to me, most evidently not their plan A in 2022. But it is interesting. I feel like I actually have a little bit more of a bead now on Nathaniel Hackett's true opinion of Drew Lock. Now, could it be coach speak? Could it simply be a guy trying to keep, in the most cynical way possible, trying to maintain a potential trade chip value? Yes, it's possible, but I don't really see that. I see Nathaniel Hackett kind of telling you what it is without getting ahead of himself in terms of making any kind of promises or anything like that.
If anyone watched the sit down that Hackett had with, Peter Schrager, I think, does the angry runs, right, on Good Morning Football. He sat down, had an interview. He's such a genuine guy, Hackett is. I mean, he's the real deal. He's not, there's no facade. There's no motive or agenda in what he's saying. He's pretty much speaking the truth and speaking really how he feels. And that's why I feel like him and Peyton got along so well, because Peyton's the same way, but I digress on that. He's being honest about Drew. I think he's excited to work with Drew, but the bigger storyline, the bigger headline would have been if he said, I'm not excited to work with Drew Lock. I don't want to work with Drew Lock. We don't believe in Drew Lock. Obviously, he won't say that. It's an exciting option. It's nice for Lock, and it's nice for the Broncos and those covering the Broncos that there's a quarterback who's actually propping up a coach that's propping up his quarterback right now after the last couple of years of Fangio, who so openly disliked Drew Lock. So it's exciting. There's at least a backup plan. There's at least hope in Denver at quarterback, however minimal that may be to some. And we have to see where it goes. Like I said, I want action on the field. Kyle Brandt.
Travis.
Sorry, you're right. Kyle Brandt, not Trigger. Thank you.
Travis Weber says, did any of the quarterbacks wow Denver to convince them of drafting one in this draft? Nobody knows that yet, but I think it's safe to say that if Malik Willis is turning heads just in the interviews, he's probably charisma, how a guy kind of presents himself, what he's got between the ears, like IQ period is very important to George Payton. Like that attracts him. All right. Same thing with Nathaniel Hackett in terms of, he was very intelligent, very charismatic. Those things affect George Payton in a positive way. He's attracted to that, and for good reason. These are the type of traits, pardon me, that make the world go round, all right, for men or women. Charismatic, high IQ, high energy. And then we learn about Malik Willis that, he actually is he's a pretty selfless guy too, because he wasn't trying to get any publicity out of helping someone on the street and all that. So I'd be willing to bet that Malik Willis, that the Broncos probably came out of a visit with Malik Willis at some point anyway, feeling very high on him as a possibility. But again, with Malik, it comes back down to how far away is he in terms of being ready to be a bona fide starter. He's definitely, Zach, there's no question. We've talked about this many times on the podcast, and you and I are not this publication's top draft analysts. All right. That's not our bag, but with our eyes, I'm telling you, Malik Willis's ceiling dwarfs any of the guys in this class, but he's still very much in potentia. All right. He's in chrysalis. He went from being, or he's trying to go, right, from being the caterpillar to the big, beautiful butterfly. And it's these NFL guys' job right now to figure out what that's going to take to get him to the butterfly and how long it's going to take.
You mentioned Willis not being really a viable candidate to start in 2022, that he would need a season or two to develop. But except for Pickett, who really is ready as a day one starter in this year's class? There's all developmental prospects. Some have higher ceilings than others. I happen to believe that Malik Willis's ceiling is higher than everybody else's. Can you imagine with his athleticism, the play actions and the boot fakes he can do in Hackett's system? That's what the bread and butter is. And that's what Drew Lock would also thrive with as well. So this is kind of what I'm leaning toward right now, taking away Aaron and taking away Russell Wilson and discarding a trade for the plan C likes of Jimmy Garoppolo and Carson Wentz. Follow what the Niners did. Obviously, Malik Willis is not Trey Lance, but he has some of the same intangibles and comparables, but use Drew Lock as the Garoppolo. if you want to let Malik Willis develop on the bench for a year, you don't want to throw him in the fire right away. You have a veteran. Drew Lock now is a veteran quarterback. Who knows how he'll do in Hackett's system, but if that's an option the Broncos could easily defer to, that I wouldn't have a problem with. 2 high upside quarterbacks. You got to figure they would nail one of those.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I'm looking here at the chat, and there's some interesting topics to potentially address here. I want to grab this one from Adam D. Vasquez. He says, you guys really do a great podcast. I will always be a Bears fan through thick and thin, but you guys do a great job. P.S. Chad, when are you going to do a Broncos theme song, punk style? Y'all know Chad is a master when it comes to music too, right? XOXO, bear down. Look, this is one of my best homies, Adam Vasquez, slipping into the chat, trying to throw props at his old buddy. Used to be in a band with Adam, did I? Back when I was a teenager in high school. And we go way back. So love you, bro. Appreciate you, my friend. Maybe I will write a Huddle Up podcast theme song. I mean, that's what you see behind me, all this music gear that I've stockpiled over the years. Appreciate you, Adam. Travis says, I emailed my profile pic. We got that. Thank you, buddy. No baseball with the lockout. No pun intended. Bring on the draft and get ready for football, and prayers to what's going on in Europe. Yes, sir. Prayers indeed. It's unfortunate, and I don't even want to say the word because then it gets flagged by the algo bots on certain platforms, and then the reach of this podcast gets muted, and that's not what we're here to talk about. So I hope you understand that, Big T.
Yeah, I'm not devolving into politics with Ukraine, but not a huge baseball guy, at least not anymore, so I'm not sweating the lockout too much. Bring me as much NFL, hook that in my veins, and do not stop it 24/7 year-round. That's what I live for, baby. So let's get it.
Amen. Here's an interesting question from Jesse. If Drew Lock was in this class, would he be QB1? If so, what does that tell you? That's an interesting question. I think he'd be up there. Yeah, I do. I think he'd be viewed as QB1 or 2. It'd probably come down to him and Willis, maybe Pickett in there too. But yeah. And, what does that say about the class, or what does that even say about Drew Lock? Look, but yeah, he probably, Zach, be top 2, I would guess. He was viewed, for what it's worth, guys. Now, obviously, it didn't shake out this way, but Drew Lock in the 2019 draft, most credible draft nicks and all the mocks and all that, with very few exceptions, Zach, were mocking him in the first round. Most of them were mocking him to Denver at 10. He was not just some slapdash guy the Broncos reached for in round 2. Like, he was viewed as a first-round prospect who dropped, who plummeted. And the Broncos passed on him twice, technically. I mean, really once, but technically twice, because they took Dalton Reisner right before him, but they wouldn't have probably taken Dalton if they didn't have that trade already worked out to take Drew. But I digress. Probably the top quarterback. What do you think?
I don't know. I think there's a reason why he did fall to the second round, though, and the same things that people are killing him now we're killing him coming out of the draft for. So Willis would be the quarterback 1 still because of his dual threat ability, because he's impressing teams in interviews by his knowledge and his smarts and his mental progressions. That's one of the big knocks on Drew. I think maybe QB2, maybe, but QB3, he'd be battling it out with the Corrals and the Sam Howells and the Carson Strongs. He'd be in the top 5 for sure. I don't think quarterback 1, though. I think that's still Willis.
Travis, no need to apologize, bro, at all. Trust. No need to apologize whatsoever. Okay, let me turn the page here just for a second. The Denver Broncos, Zach, there was an interesting article that you published last night or this morning. The Denver Broncos undecided on whether or not to exercise Noah Fant's 5th-year option. Now, this is, some analysis coming out of what George Payton said earlier this week, but tell fans what the Broncos are thinking, or at least revealing their thinking right now on Fant.
I got a fly that wants to be a guest star on the Huddle Up Pod tonight. George Payton was asked, are you decided on Noah Fant's 5th-year option for 2023, so next year? And he goes, we haven't decided yet. We still have some time. The window closes May 2nd, so they have about 2 months. But they want Noah Fant to be there for a long time. So if you want him there for a long time, pick up the option, make it happen. And it's pennies on the dollar for a player like Noah Fant. And I'm saying that as someone who's higher on Fant than most others. They have not used him correctly. And as I wrote there, despite everything that went on last year and the loss of his mother, by the way, which I think played a huge part in that, career highs in receptions and touchdowns. And he still had 670 yards in that offense while competing again with Alberto, who was making waves, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, and all the others. And in a Pat Shurmur offense, he was never used to the best of his abilities. I happen to think Justin Houghton, being the former Green Bay Packers tight ends coach, who's now the Broncos OC, is going to make some serious hay with Noah Fant and Alberto. He's under contract for this year, but for next year, I mean, look at that. $6.6 million for a 3-down starting tight end, your former first-round pick, who's shown flashes legitimately on the field. The Broncos have $38 million in cap space. I am exercising this all day, every day. I hope Peyton decides that.
Especially if you get that quarterback upgrade that you're looking for. But even if you don't find an outside guy to come in and be a day one improvement over, say, Drew Lock, with a forward-thinking West Coast Shanahan / Gruden coach like Hackett, man, I shudder to think what kind of production you could get out of Noah Fant, even with Drew Lock as the trigger man, as your kind of contingency plan. I mean, he's here for sure this year, as you report, as you just mentioned. What we're talking about here is what are they going to do in 2023? And a lot of fans don't realize that if you're going to exercise a first-round pick's 5th year, you actually have to anticipate it and do it a year in advance, basically. So it's a deadline that's approaching here this spring. Broncos are undecided, but I think it would be folly not to just pull the trigger because, again, we're not, as you talked about, Zach, talking about here, suddenly going from Fant making $2 million on the cap to something ridiculous like, 20, 15, even 10. We're talking about $6 million. So keep him in the incubator, keep him within the franchise through the entirety of his rookie deal, including a 5th year. And I think the Broncos' patience and the investment they've made, the development, the time they put into him, it'll bear fruit.
I saw someone in the comments say it's too much for Noah Fant. I mean, really, $6.6 million is too much for a player like that. When Dalton Schultz from the Cowboys, a former nobody who had one decent season, is going to get about 12 on the open market, double what Fant would get. I am picking that up all day, every day. I think he's going to pop in this offense. And imagine a quarterback, maybe even an upgrade like Malik Willis with his athleticism, finding Noah Fant down the seam off boot action. There's so much you can do with a player like Fant, especially in an offense that can draw coverage away from him using the other receivers. Again, I'm higher on Fant than most others, but I am definitely bringing him back.
All right, let me jump into the chat here real quick. There's a couple other news items that I want to get to relative to the combine here, but let me see what's on everybody's mind at this moment. Yeah, it is interesting. It is interesting that, as Jeremy says here, that they haven't made the decision on Fant. But there's a lot of different factors that could be going into why they might be dragging their feet. Alfonso, great to see you, my friend. Thank you for that super chat. He says, did you guys see Connor Hayward, the tight end out of Michigan, at the combine? Dude looks like a stud and is Cameron Hayward's little brother. Yeah, dude, he's looking good. Let me find my note on this guy. But yes, the problem here, guys, is I guess if you're not going to exercise Fant's option, then tight ends on the menu, right? Or in the premium rounds, you could go with a straight face, go draft one. But if Noah Fant fits in here for at least the next 2 years and beyond, and you got Alberto for at least the next 2 years, I'm not sure you really need to invest premium round capital, Zach, on tight end.
Right. I was going to say, even if you decline the option, you still have Fant under contract for 22. So why would you draft a tight end now between Alberto and Fant? You could sign a random free agent, bring back Salbert to be a blocker for all I care. But you have 2 high upside guys that can stretch the seam, do things down the field. Fant got a little better as a blocker. I know he's not perfect there, but you can work with him. He was never going to thrive like every other Broncos offensive player in Pat Shurmur's scheme. I want to see what he can do in Hackett and Houghton scheme.
He ran a 4.73, did Connor Hayward, by the way. Not enough to lead. The unofficial leader right now for tight ends, speed-wise, is UCLA's Greg. How do you say that kid's name? Dulcich? I don't know. Cottonmouth 78, great to see you, bro. How have you been? It has been a bit. It's great to see you. He says, I just want to say I'm excited for the new coaches, and I'm tired of hearing about the quarterback position. Just roll with Locke and see what happens. No guts, no glory. Fortune favors the bold. Let's go full Indiana Jones on this podcast.
I hate to break it to you, Cottonmouth, but until they have that solidified, we're going to have to talk about it. I get, and so does Chad as well, we all get fatigued talking about the same topics, Aaron and Drew, and what they're going to do and speculate. That's why I want to see action. But until we get that action, like Chad pointed out, it's a ways away. And we're going to have to keep speculating and analyzing and predicting and projecting what the Broncos are going to do. I'm there with you. If they go with Locke, I'm really excited about that. I just want upside at that position. I want a playmaker at that position. If you put in Andy Dalton or Mac Jones, Teddy Bridgewater, I don't want to fall asleep while watching the Broncos. I want to jump out of my seat while watching the Broncos.
Real quick, I want to grab this one, Scott, from Travis Tarbox at 638. He says that Pickett scares him with the fumbles. Seen a lot of guys overcome their disadvantages to be great, though. Yeah, that's the problem with Pickett is not only does he have the smaller hands, but we've seen it come out in the wash through a lack of ball security. It's a concern, but, I don't know. We're told that Peyton and Hackett are hand-sized truthers. So if that's true, though, if it's true, then Pickett's probably off the board in round one. Doesn't mean they couldn't be interested in taking him somewhere, maybe with their second round pick, one of their 2 second round picks, if they indeed still have those picks come draft day. But I just don't think Kenny Pickett is the guy for Denver this year. I mean, I like him. There's a lot to like about him as a prospect, and you can debate whether or not he is, as a lot of people say, the most pro-ready of this class. But first round, he's probably a second round pick.
Well, I'm going to give you a scenario that's appropriate to Denver and not many other teams. I think it was 2015, right? The Patriots, Broncos game, the C.J. Anderson long touchdown run.
Yep.
In the blizzard, do you trust Pickett to hold on to the ball and to make plays in that weather? And you're going to have to if you play quarterback for the Broncos. I don't want a guy whose floor is so much higher than his ceiling. If they want to develop him and give him 5, 7, 10 years, I want him to get better. I don't want him to stagnate. I feel like that's what Pickett would be in the NFL.
That's a great game to reference relative to this issue at hand. And I was there. I was actually in the stands with the fans on that night. And, I had gloves for most of it, but I'm telling you right now, if you asked me in those conditions to go grip a big old football. Now, granted, I don't even know what my hand size is. I guess I could measure it because I'll tell you what my hand size is right now. You ready? I've done my stretches. I'm 8. I'm 9, dude. I got 9s. Yo, put me in, coach. But if you would have told me, hey, with your frozen hands, it can feel nothing and go out there and handle a football and please don't do something that these 60 some odd thousand people will hate you for. No promises. No promises.
Hand stretches.
Guys.
Quote unquote.
You want receipts? All right, check this, dude. Put Jensen in. First round pick. Oh, I don't know if I could do. All right, look. Tippy. 9s, bro. 9s. Let's go. Willie McGoogle. Willima Google? Hey, Will, I'm just going to call you Willie. How's that?
Wiley. Welcome. It's like Wiley Coyote, no?
Welcome.
Yeah, I got it, Scott.
Yeah. Welcome, big dog. Thank you for that
McGoogle.
Very generous super chat. First name, Wiley. Okay, Wiley McGoogle. I love it, dude. Much appreciated the job you guys do. Love to listen live when able or later. Anyhow, will we ever get our QB sitch resolved soon? Denver Broncos for life since the late 70s. The original number 7, Craig Morton. Wiley, appreciate you, my friend. Yes, I think George Payton's the man to get this job done. And soon, I don't know, because an artist can only, work with the materials that he has access to. He doesn't have access to Aaron Rodgers. The Green Bay Packers own that dude's rights. Doesn't have access to Russell Wilson, owned by the Seattle Seahawks. Jimmy Garoppolo, nope. Kirk Cousins, nope. Hey, Jameis Winston's out there. Mike Evans wrote about that today for us, Zach. So is I'm trying to think of the other free agents.
That's it.
I shudder to think.
We don't have to talk about them.
Then there's the draft, and the Broncos are actually, for this class, like in a traditional quarterback class, 9 might put you just a little bit outside of reach of having a really good chance of getting one of the top guys. I mean, look at the 2018 class. How many quarterbacks were drafted in that first round? Actually, in the top 10, let's just say, because you had Baker, number 1, Darnold, Rosen. Where was Allen? Allen was before Rosen. Was he 6? He went right after Denver, right? Either way, you had, and I think Rosen went 10. So you had, 4 quarterbacks just in the top 10. Or I might be getting that wrong, but at least 3. All right, for sure. For sure, 3. This year, I don't think there's a quarterback here that's going to command a team to take him or move up to get him like that in the top 10, which means if the Broncos do like one of these guys, there's a good shot, Zach, that he'll be there at pick 9. And then perhaps Wiley's aggravation will be solved, but it might be a can being kicked down the road. I think you've got to answer your question, how much longer, bro? I think no later than 2023 draft, it'll be fixed.
Not that it matters. I thought that Allen went after Quentin Nelson, so it wasn't like 7 or 8. I might be right. It doesn't really matter. But
now let's look.
Ever is a pretty big time span, though. So eventually, the Broncos, by odds alone, are going to land their quarterback, and I think it's going to happen fairly soon. If they take us some guy with an upside like Malik Willis or Desmond Ridder, let's say, and Hackett's the real deal, and Outten and Kubiak, that's your franchise guy. But
so Zach. Baker 1, Darnold 3, Allen 7. So it's 2 picks after the Broncos, and then Rosen 10. So there's 4 guys, and then nary a Q until Lamar, the Ravens, take him. If I'm not mistaken, they traded back up into round 1 to grab him at 32. So 5 Qs in that class, and one of them has already basically burned out completely from the league as a viable starter in Josh Rosen. Darnold's dang close, and Baker's hanging on. Allen's the truth, and so is Lamar Jackson.
Let me just tack on one final thing. We're not going to answer this question definitively once and for all by using the stopgap options, by signing the Jameses and trading for the Garoppolos or the Wentzes or Matt Ryan, whoever. They have to find that young guy. And I've been screaming about that almost every pod the last couple of years. You got to keep swinging for the fence. And I would say this, even if they were to land Aaron or Russell Wilson, they got to get that long-term guy and finally put this question to bed. Long-term, sustainable viability. Name of the game.
Indubitably. Let's grab Big T. Again, he says, I'm curious as to Josie Jewell, A.J. Johnson, and Kenny Young. Who gets re-signed, who goes. I honestly feel if Jewell is kept, that Johnson could be gone with Young and Browning's emergence last season. Yeah, I mean, they'll pick one of those 3. And Peyton basically said as much. And then before the combine, we got reports that they're leaning Jewell and that they plan to talk and sit down with Jewell's camp at the combine and get something ironed out. So who knows? Maybe that reporting in hindsight will be proved wrong and they go AJ, but I definitely don't think it's going to be Kenny Young. And it feels like it's going to be Josie Jewell, and that's not the worst thing. Josie Jewell is like a coach on the field, and he showed some strong signs of taking big steps forward last year before he got hurt. And then you draft a guy or 2. You've got Baron Browning, a 3rd-round pick that showed out big time down the stretch. If you could just keep him healthy, the dude's a difference maker. And then Jonas Griffith. So you've got some options. I'm not holding out hope that Justin Sternad's going to amount to much, Zach, after that crap show when he was put in as a starter last year or so. But this class has some really good off-ball guys.
And honestly, the free agent class does as well. And I've been a proponent of handing a relative bag over to Devondre Campbell, who earned first-team All-Pro honors last year, 146 tackles, career high. That's a guy you build around. That's a defensive foundational piece, and I would love him next to Baron Browning. But you can argue Josie, Alexander, Kenny Young, they're all Band-Aid guys. I don't really think any of them are long-term upside guys. They want to come back in a short-term, incentive-heavy, low-guarantee deal. Fine with me, but it shouldn't and won't preclude the Broncos from adding to that position on the open market and in the draft, as they should.
JJ says, it's good to see you, bro. And we did get your email, so we're sending you a little care package. Be looking for that in the next week or so. With the KJ Hamler injury, is there a later round guy with a similar skill set that you like? A lot of speed in this class, bro. A lot of speed popping off as we're seeing at the combine. We're probably not the best guys to ask about that. Ask one of the morning show dudes. Ask Eric Trickle tomorrow night. They know the names of. Eric knows the name of every cat basically that's at the combine anyway, and it has a little tell you something about each guy. I don't have a late round guy. Scott, you got somebody? There's a lot of speed, bro.
I have someone that I thought was a late round guy, but he's not going to be a late round guy anymore. It's Skye Moore. He ran a 4.3 something. He burned up the combine today, but I think he's going to be a day 2 pick, probably a second round pick. Those deep ball threats, a guy who can run really fast in a straight line, those are relatively easy to find. Fortunately, the Broncos found 2 of the big body possession guys, and they have them in Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick. Throw in Jerry Jeudy. I have high hopes for KJ, but he had a serious knee injury. He might not be the same. If they want to supplement that position, you can do so in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounds, undrafted free agency. They don't necessarily have to use a premier round pick on a slot receiver.
Appreciate you, my friend. We've got Nash, the 5th. It's like an emperor. Oh, wait, hold on. We got some highlights here, and then we'll grab Nash. Hang tight, Nash. Who are we looking at? Skye? Oh, no. Who's this? Here, I'm going to I best look at the chat. Velus Jones. We're watching some Senior Bowl highlights that Scott was able to get. Oh, someone dropped a ball. Was that Pickett? Yeah, dude, he's intriguing. Is he viewed as a late round guy? Okay. So keep that as a name for you, JJ. Velus Jones, Tennessee, right there, number 1. Let's see, Hal Boom. Very nice. Oh, yeah, he's an intriguing guy. Appreciate the assist on that, Mr. Producer. Okay, back to Nash the 5th. Good evening, Broncos country. Would you like to see the Broncos draft an edge or a linebacker first? And who would be your choice of the positions? I'd like to see edge first. A lot of really good options. Trying to be reasonable about who will be there. I kind of come back to Thibodeau. But Jermaine Johnson, he was mocked to the Broncos by Daniel Jeremiah. I think did Kuiper also mock him, I think, to the Broncos? He's interesting out of FSU. Inside linebacker, if you do go linebacker, Zach, to me at 9, you're going Devin Lloyd from Utah. Pretty pleased. Thank you very much.
At least they have one inside linebacker. You can argue they don't have 2 edge guys. I'm losing faith quickly on Bradley Chubb, especially as a long-term guy who's going to get a second contract from Denver. They need 2 starting edge rushers. Cooper is a nice third guy to have, but I'm not quite sold on him yet as a full-time starter. So edge for sure. Again, that's their biggest non-quarterback need this offseason.
Yes, it is. Terry, hey, good to see you, bro. Up in Canada, we know who Terry Randall is. Let's go. He says, I'm just showing love to MHH and the awesome community, my brothers from other mothers, and especially any watching from the Dub Z. Oh, I think, what do you think that means? I think I know what that means. From the Dub Z. I don't know actually what that means. Warzone? I don't know. We love and support you, yes. And R.I.P. Duke. R.I.P. Duke. Isn't the soon to be Mrs., isn't that where she's from, Terry? I want to say. Or is it Poland? I think it was Ukraine, right? I can't remember for sure, but appreciate you, big dog. Good to see you. Kayaka in the hizzy. What's going on, bro? He says, evening, Ohana. Did you guys see that Josh McDaniels hired Tom McMahon as special teams coach? LOL. Love this. 2 times a year. Jokes on the Raiders. Yes, it is. In more ways than one. who knows, man? Maybe Josh McDaniels is going to prove us all wrong and that he just was a little too green behind the ears and needed a little more time to mature on the vine, Zach. But the best predictor of future behavior, not the only, but the best, is the past. And I just don't think everything I've heard and been told by former players, everything I've read, that dude was a complete ass.
Fair.
And a lot guys like that, and we've all known guys like that, right? Coolest guy they know, smartest guy they know. People like that rarely change, So who knows?
That was, to be fair and objective, that was his biggest downfall, was his people skills or lack thereof. And he even said that. He just wasn't ready to be a head coach yet. But his football acumen, for the most part, his offensive acumen is pretty good. And he's going into an offense or leading an offense now led by Derek Carr, and he has Josh Jacobs, and he has Renfro, and he has Darren Waller, and he has a lot of weapons he can work with, a nice offensive line as well. If he can get the people side down and the relationship side down, he could do pretty well. But one person that's never going to change is Tom McMahon. He is always going to be, to use your word, Chad, ass, and that's never, ever, ever going to change. I literally cannot wait for the first Broncos-Raiders game, and I just want to see them rip like a 60-yard kick return right off the bat.
By the way, Adam, I just realized on your Facebook profile pic that you've got James Hetfield playing the snake bite with the face superimposed of Frankenstein. Baller, dude. Andrew Baker, what's going on? Talk about ballers. Let's put Uncle Chad at quarterback in Philly, looking gangsta Zach you do look like a Philly gangster. Like, I would not be surprised if I was watching Silver Linings Playbook and Bradley Cooper's characters walking down the street to go meet Jennifer Lawrence's character, and then you see this dude kind of walking down the sidewalk, maybe sweats him for, hey, what do you got in your pockets? Is like Gollum, show us your show us the green. I could have seen you as an extra. Yeah, for sure.
I was actually going for the Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I'm going to keep it pretty PG on the pod. But yeah, appreciate you, Andrew.
Yeah, Tugalicious indeed. Alfonso, Malik Willis might be the guy who goes toe-to-toe with Mahomes for the division crown every year for the next decade. If GP loves him, that's Peyton, he should take him at 9 because surely he'll be gone by 20. I think it's probably a pretty safe bet. Malik Willis will be gone by 20. But I think in Jeremiah's mock, he had 2 quarterbacks going round 1, Willis and Pickett, and it was like 18 and 20. And I can't remember now off the top of my head which one was first, but yeah, if you want him, you got to take him at 9. That's certain on Willis anyway.
And, to the argument that this quarterback class is so bad that quarterbacks won't be drafted in the top 10, top 15, whatever, maybe top 5. All it takes is one. All it takes is one team to fall in love hard enough or get desperate enough to take that plunge. And if they're going to go quarterback at 9, I'm not quite ready to sign off on that just yet. Not yet. I hope it's Malik Willis. I don't think Kenny Pickett is worth a top 10 pick. If they want to move back, and I said yesterday's pod, actually, it's funny that this is mentioned, Malik Willis's floor to me is probably 20 right now. He could be maybe a top 7 or 8 guy, but I don't know. We'll see.
Scott, can you throw Phil back on? I accidentally clicked on why it's next, but thank you. Phil says, and thank you, Phil. I was watching an interview with this kid from Alabama, Evan Neal. Great character and intelligence. Any thoughts on him? Love him, dude. Love him. In a perfect world, he's there at 9, but he's not going to be. He's a top 5 pick.
Might be number 1 overall.
Number 1.
Yeah.
He's going to be the first guy taken.
If they were smart, Jacksonville would take him to help out Trevor Lawrence, but I don't know how smart they are.
But yeah, phenomenal young talent. He's going to be a Pro Bowler. He's a stud. He's a set and forget guy. And that's it. So, but out of our reach, alas. Okay. Let's see here. Wyatt says,
let's see, he puts on a gas mask bong on draft night. He might fall to the Broncos, but
who knows? But you know what? It took a very vindictive family member. Was it the stepdad that leaked that?
That's right.
Trying to torpedo his own stepson's draft stock. It's like, yo, dude, what world are you living in?
You need to Cam Newton's father or Odell Beckham's.
Wyatt says the hate and non-love for Josie Jewell is insane. Dude's a monster and is the anchor in the middle that this team needs. Yeah, he just, the problem why people don't love Wyatt, the reason they don't love Jewell is you don't see the splash plays. That's one of the reasons fans are much more like, if you did a poll, Zach, maybe I'll do this just to prove my point. If I did a poll on MHH Twitter or Facebook after this podcast and said you can only sign one, who is it, Josie Jewell or AJ? The pendulum will swing widely for AJ, because even though it's been a minute since he was doing it, that first year he was a starter in 2019, year one of Fangio, dude was a whirling dervish, multiple impact plays, forced fumbles, picks, sacks, stuff like that. And that's what gets fans' attention. Jewell's a guy, buttoned up, you don't got to worry, assignment driven, coach on the field, leader. He's out there making sure dudes are doing what they're supposed to do. He's handling his business. But he's the guy that you don't, I mean, he's when a linebacker, Zach, makes a tackle for a 3-yard gain, fans are like, hey, babe, what's for dinner? Like, they don't even notice. That's just like matter of course. That's just what happens. Now, if that same guy, tips a pass, jumps up, picks it off, now we're cooking with grease. Jewell's been a guy that just takes care of business. Like we talked about with Evan Neal, set and forget. Jewell's kind of that guy. Like to see a few more splash plays out of him. Probably never going to get that from him though, Zach. He's a lunch pail dude, but he's also very, very, those kind of guys are very, very valuable.
Let's call it like it is. He's Todd Davis. I mean, good leader, good 2-down guy, good against the run, lunch pail guy, workman-like guy, but he's not Devin White. And I want Devin freaking White in a Broncos uniform. I want that type of inside linebacker. I realize you can't have Pro Bowlers and all pros everywhere, but they've just gone too long getting killed by tight ends, killed by running backs, not getting enough game-changing plays from the middle of their defense. They want to bring back Jewell once again, fine. I'm all for it on a short-term deal, but he's not the answer long-term, and they got to find that guy next to Baron Browning.
As Albert says, a person like Jewell makes it happen for other players. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Cody Dubb in the house. He says, and thank you, bro. In the division, we are in need of a linebacker that can cover. I mean, you got Travis Kelce and Darren Waller. You're up against 2 times a year and possibly in the postseason. Yeah. You know who would be a good ace for that? Devin Lloyd. Go get him if you want him at 9. But are you in love with, Malik Willis? Quarterback takes precedent here. So if the Broncos come out of these interviews with Willis and all their due diligence, talking to people around Liberty, talking to all the other schools what was the other school he went to? Was it Auburn? I confuse him if it was Auburn or Georgia. Either way, talk to people around Malik Willis, go to his pro day, all that stuff. Maybe they fall in love and they take him at 9. You got to solve quarterback first. But if you don't take a quarterback at 9, I would be stoked on Devin Lloyd, and he would kill the 2 birds with 1 stone. He'd tackle for you sideline to sideline, and he's got some coverage chops. But, Zach, then what do you do about edge rusher? Because Bradley Chubb, if he's healthy and there's no compromised anything about him, he's going to give you, top 20 edge rusher impact. But that's a big if, guys. And can the Broncos now, this far into his career, hang their hat on that? No way. You can't, which is why edge rusher has to be the first priority after quarterback.
Yeah, someone in the comments, I think it was the comment that Jewell opens up things for other players. What did he open up? What players stepped up and made game-changing plays in the Broncos front 7? It was few and far in between. And you can get those guys are a dime a dozen. I just don't get the Josie Jewell love. But if you want to address this need on the open market with a veteran and not have 2 young players at inside linebacker like Baron Browning and Lloyd, for example, throw some money again at Devondre Campbell. Go watch his tape. I mean, I know it's a 1-year wonder type thing, but I think he's the truth. And he's a guy first entering his prime, a guy you build around a good veteran counterpart for Browning as well. I'd be all for that, addressing that need so you can go edge in round 1. You can go Malik Willis in round 1 or whoever else.
Dale jumping in, pardon me, off the top rope, rendering me speechless, putting frogs in my throat over here with just the generosity that you show us, my friend. Love you. Appreciate you so much. Seriously, love you, bro. He says, if we aren't convinced on a QB round 1, I'd rather go up a couple spots to get one of the top 2 edge rushers if possible without selling the house. Of course, we are going to hook up when you come to the, how do you say that? Anna? I don't know. You'll have to educate me on that, bro. Okay. All right, dude. I'm going to keep you in the loop. I'll email you the dates I'm going to be there, dude, and love to hang out. Be fun.
I don't think I'm moving up in this draft in the first top 10 to get an edge guy. I think this draft class is loaded. It's a lot of depth, a lot of good second, third, fourth round picks. If one falls to the Broncos at 9, great, but I don't think I'm moving up. Well, I'd move down way sooner before I'd move up.
Eric, and then guys, we got to get out of here for tonight. He says, I'm bummed we're not landing one of the top tier quarterbacks, but trying to stay positive that Peyton will have another great draft and Hackett and company can lead us back to the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I loved what George Payton said when he stood up at the ceremony to accept the award of the best draft in 2021, the 5th annual award, as voted on by peers, not media, not fans. The league guys voted Broncos had the best 2021 draft class. So George Payton stands up there and he goes, I'm a little surprised that we won this considering we only had 7 wins, but hey, we're taking it. You know, he can solve the problem. I think it's just, you know, you can't just snap your fingers and say, give me the solution to our quarterback woes long-term right now. If he sees one though, that he sees as a viable candidate for that, and he has any control, Zach, over landing that quarterback, whether it's trade, free agency, draft, he's going to swing for the fences. That you can count on with George Payton.
He has to. I mean, he knows the honeymoon's over for him. He hired an offensive mind. He retooled the coaching staff. He overcompensated in a good way, in a positive way, from the Vic Fangio era, and it's all on him now. And he feels the criticism and he feels the weight of the public opinion of passing on the Fields last year, passing on the Mac Jones, so on and so on. And he has to get it right. You know, I'm a big Peyton guy. I have high hopes for the Broncos this year and going forward, but you got to get that quarterback. And I have faith that they will.
Nathan says, and thank you for the super great show. Chad with all his equipment looking like he's producing Zach's next rap album. Yeah. Have you guys heard Zach's first rap album?
Certified Diamond.
Certified
Mess with
Diamond. All right, guys, we got to go though. So much love and respect.
Oh, okay. Thank you, guys. I don't know what this means, Trash Panda, Sabretooth. I'm assuming that's a compliment. I've been called.
No, dude. I know. He's talking about Wolverine's brother, dude, from Wolverine Origins. Tell me I'm wrong, Trash Panda 5150. So
right over my head.
All right, so what's the actor's name? Liev Schreiber. That's his name. You know who I'm talking about from Ray Donovan? He's Ray Donovan.
I've been called a lot worse in my life. That was the Huddle Up Podcast, though, guys. So ends another week of podcasting. Stay tuned for more pods in your near future, and stay tuned for when we're back on with you live, which is Sunday night, same time, same place. Follow us on Twitter in the meantime, though, at Huddle Up Pod. You follow the main account on Twitter for all your Broncos news, analysis, rumors, and more at Mile High Huddle. You can follow my partner in crime, Chad Jensen, at Chad and Jensen, excuse me. Been doing this long enough. You can follow myself at Kelberman NFL. Follow Scott on Twitter at Scout Kennedy. If you want a piece of what we're wearing, if you want, not literally, if you want a hat like Chad's wearing, a hat like I'm wearing, so on and so forth, go to huddleuppod.com and get yourself some merchandise right now. And also facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Hit that big blue button, become a supporter. We have 3 exclusive shows each and every week: Broncos Book Club, Trickle Zone, and Kelberman's Corner. I promise you it's well worth that. The VIP premium content, and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Like that page, follow that page. Guys, please, if you haven't already, go to Apple Podcasts and leave your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if you can't do those things, we totally get it. Do these 3 things. Please, please, please subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHA channel. It helps us grow monumentally and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
And we have grown like a monument. Only our monument, there you go. Thank you. Thank you. Hashtag Sabretooth. Love it. Love it. See, I was right. Our monument, though, has your face on it. All right? I'm not talking about Zack Kelberman. I'm talking about y'all. Mount Rushmore, it's you guys. Love you. Appreciate you. What'd you say?
I was sticking my teeth out. I look pretty stupid, and I won't do that again, but I was trying to be Sabretooth.
Come on, dude. I missed it. Let me see it.
Go watch it when the pod's over. I'm not embarrassing myself again.
Okay, here we go. Shout out to these great Facebook supporters. Travis Weber finishing on top tonight. T Twice right behind him. Andrew Baker right behind. Phil McLaughlin, Michael Ronquillo, Lawrence Rivera, Eric Weber, and then these great Super Chat superstars, Sam Bam, Rod TV, Dave Millage, Alfonso, Cottonmouth, JJ, Wiley, McGoogle. Love that name, dude. That's actually, I think you should change your MC name to Wiley McGoogle, Zach. That would be better for the next record that you and I are going to produce. Nash V / Nash the Fifth, Terry, Cody Dub, D-Dub, Dale in Paradise, Hawaii, and Nathan. Nathan, aren't you also in Paradise, or do I misremember that? Aren't you in Hawaii? Either way, much love and respect. Thanks to each and every one of you. Great week podcasting. Don't miss Dove Valley Deep Divers tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern, and we'll see you on Sunday.
Aren't we all in paradise, Chad? We're alive, baby. We got our health, and we're still hanging in there in this wild world we live in. But have a great weekend, guys. As Dylan says, leave a like on your way out. Really helps the channel, really helps the brand grow. Have a great weekend. See you guys Sunday night. Take care, and as always, go Broncos.
You've been listening to the Huddle Up Podcast. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.